So again, this slide just showing comparison between array and array list. We can see creating, accessing, updating, and getting the size can be done in array and array list differently. But adding, inserting, removing elements and clear the list of elements in array, you have to manually implementing them, which you don't have to when you use ArrayList class. They're implemented for you. Just call the methods. And you can just look at an example code from this. They just test to show you how to use ArrayList and do the read value from the input. List contains the values, add the values in to the array list, and just look through that. This is an application to show the distinct numbers, because you can always add the same values into the list, and this is a loop to find the distinct values. Like we enter all this number into the list, it could be duplicates. The program is going to find the distinct. Pretty much this if is a very, say, if it's already contains, if it not contains, we add, otherwise we not add. So that's why the list is distinct now. And print the list out. Application of using ArrayList to find distinct values or store the distinct value in the list. Now, ArrayList can turn into array by call list.toArray. Right. ArrayList form an array. An array can be an array list. So if I create an array, name array, and I have the list, I can just create an array list from an array by calling arrays class .asList and pass an array in. So .asList will just convert array to array list. Right, again, creating an array of object from an array list. You can also get, I just say this is an array, and I have list. I just .toArray and pass array1. Right, or new string list.size. That's when you define the size of array that you want to create. And you can look at max and min in an array list. So we have what we call a collections. Collections is a class in the YouTube package in Java. There's a method called max, and then you can pass the array list itself. Okay. As well as they have min, where you can pass the array list itself. So let's check. So now let's look at the Java doc of collections. The collection class itself has the max when you pass in the collection, which is the list, array list. Like this, we pass in the array list into collections, and we try to find the max. That means it's going to return the max values of this list. And if it's a string, it should return the order by alphabetically. Like grade should be returned. Also, we can do min. In this case, min should be blue. We're going to test the code. So let's create the new class. So what I'm doing now, I'm creating the new class, right? Name collection test, and just pretty much just construct an array that have red, green, and blue, right? Pretty much just this code copying over. So we're going to print to find the max. Now let's look at how we use collections. So collections, I call it and import. That's one way, or you can just type the whole package name like that and call the method max. Now max is looking for a parameters, right, of max. This has to be, this is a generic type, and you see this is extends from t. So meaning that if we look at our array list, string is the type that you have to parameterize that. So new array list and give the type, parameterize that to string list, because this is a string, array of string, and we want to create this from an array, right? So we want to create array list from an array, so we need to do array dot, right? So arrays dot as list, that's how you convert back, dot as list, and pass in the array name in. Array list, we have to import that in first. So we import array list to use, arrays to use, collections to use, array list, and collections. Now let's run to see if we can find the max, which is rate. Right, like I said, it's string, it's going to be alphabetically ordered. So we can do the same thing with min. Collections.min will return the min values of this list, array list. It is blue. Now why collections? Because if you look at inheritance, the collection is pretty much just, this is a generic programming again, polymorphisms. Collection, if you look at collections, let's look at inheritance UML diagram for collections. Collection is pretty much just a superclass of like type of collections. You see collections extend from object, right? Arrays extend from object. And we have array list. Array list is a list which is a collection. So that's we call inheritance concept polymorphisms. Like this collections, you can pass any list into collections to use. Because this collections, if you look at Java doc, it will take an interface of collections type. That means we can take any type from the image that is shown you here. So collection can take collection type. So this is type. So this is polymorphism via interfaces. So what we have seen, we did polymorphism through the inheritance. In the first is just another type of class, but we don't call class. We, instead of public class, we say public interface. And then class implements the interface. So like ArrayList implement list is extend from collections. So that make collection take any type. It could be ArrayList, it could be linked list, it could be vector, it could be priority queue. They all, like, it could be tree set, it could be linked hash set. The collections will be able to take those and return max and min of those lists. And we talk about this more when we get to interface. But at this point, I just want to show you that why we want to program as polymorphic or generic programming. Then it's going to support any type. When you do max, you put ArrayList in, it's find the max of that array. When you put different type, doesn't have to be ArrayList, it could be linked list. Then it's going to return the max of that list. It could be tree set, it could be any data structure type. Now we just learned the basic of array. In 202, you'll learn how to do linked list beside array to store data into the list, not using array. Now we have proved this. So shuffling an array list, you can create an array, use ArrayList to construct a list from the array using arrays.addList. The collections, again, you can do shuffle. There's a shuffle method that you can shuffle the list. Remember, when we use an array, we have to manually write a program to do that. Right, loop to it. But now, ArrayList itself doesn't have shuffle method. How would you shuffle? How would you find max and min? We just showed that. We can use collections to max and min. The same thing, we can do collections to do the shuffle. And collections method should be here, right? We look at Java doc. Shuffle, you pass the list in. Can be any type, right? That's the parameters that you specify. It's going to randomly permute the specified list using the default source of randomness. So that's how you shuffle. Then you return back, the list is shuffled. So let's see if I try to shuffle this. I'm going to do .shuffle. So I'm going to shuffle the list. Alright, so I got a list and shuffle. Let's close that. So there's an error because shuffle returns void. I cannot print void. That means I have to shuffle like that, and then I'm going to print the list again by print. So this should be created outside then as array list, a list equals to new. So creating it outside and shuffle a list, then it should be shuffled, and then print the list to see if it's being shuffled. Red, green, blue. A list, it seems like a list is not shuffled. Now let's look at it. So let's run again to see if it's shuffled. Yes, it actually works, right? So the first example when we run, it happened to be shuffled at the same location. Now if we keep running, it should be changed. There you go, right? That's how you shuffle an array list.